You want a beer?
Or do you want to smoke some pot?
Or we can have premarital sex.
We love premarital sex!
Welcome to the future of horror. He's been drowned, chainsawed, knifed, axed, hammered, shocked, burned, spiked, nailed, shot, and frozen. Now he's back for more. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer. This is I Hope You Suffer. My name is Nathan.
I'm Kit.
And this week, we watched the best movie of all time, Jason X, from 2002. And
God, so long ago.
I'm going to go out and just flat out say it, that this is the best Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
The only thing that would even rival it for me is Crispin Glover's dance sequence in
Final
5
chapter
or whatever. Because you put Crispin Glover in anything, it's fucking perfect.
Every time I watch Final Chapter, I just have to record his dance and I put it on Instagram. So everyone's seen it like 20 times. It's like, I don't care. You guys are going to see it forever, all right? Just every month.
Crystal
until I die.
Crystal and I went and saw him do a Q&A for like 2 of his movies. And, all I wanted to do was ask him about that, but I know he had, no interest in talking about it.
I want to ask him about his album. The
so
album
good.
he released is fantastic.
It's pretty fucking choice.
I hated that clown.
Crispin Glover rules. I got the Willard Blu-ray on pre-ordered from Diabolical DVD. I'm just waiting for that to show up in the mail. More Crispin Glover for everybody. So this movie fucking rules. It is completely insane. It was directed by James Isaac, who I wrote down directed an episode of Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is awesome, but he also did special effects for House 2, The Second Story, Gremlins, Existence, and The Fly from 1986.
I'm noticing that none of those movies are in space. And that's deeply disappointing.
So we're going to get to a trivia thing about this after we get through the cast and shit that is fucking mind-boggling. But going through
everything else about this film.
Yeah, 100%. Going through the cast and the people who worked on this movie, it's pretty obvious because I guess James Isaac was a protege of David Cronenberg. So, a lot of the people are from, Cronenberg movies, and then a lot of them worked on, House 1 through 4, which is kind of crazy, because those House movies also rule.
This is not remotely a Cronenberg-y movie either, which makes it so much more delightful that a bunch of Cronenberg alums worked on it.
His cameo, I guess, was specifically just because, James Isaac directed it, and his one stipulation was that he had to be killed in it.
Watching that scene again, all I wanted was for Cronenberg to direct a Friday the 13th movie.
Oh, it'd be so good. If they're gonna reboot it, that's the way to do it.
I'll start up a Kickstarter. I don't fucking care. Whatever I have to do to get that to happen.
That would be amazing, too, if that was, his return to horror movies, was just Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th is a body horror film?
Yes. Just fucking Jason as a weird fucking creature pulls, a machete out of his chest. I'm all about that. This movie stars Kane Hodder, obviously, as everybody should know as Jason.
No way.
And, every other fucking horror movie made in the last 20 years probably has a cameo by Kane Hodder.
What if it was Kane Wrestler?
Oh, it'd be amazing. They kind of, See No Evil already did that.
God, that movie is fucking trash.
It's so good. Jeff Geddes as Johnson, Lexa Doig as Rowan, Marcus Perillo as Sergeant Marcus, who was in the Friday the 13th TV show. Jonathan Potts as Professor Lowe, and then Lisa Ryder as KM-14, the android.
I want to be a space professor.
It
My new career path, I've decided just now on this episode.
Space professor's got to be a very weird occupation.
Yeah. I've got my space doctorate.
I'm going to teach science, but in space. So this movie is essentially Aliens with Jason Voorhees as the xenomorph. Even to the point that they named a character Dallas, who was like in the fucking, military part of the group. So the Todd Farmer, who was one of the writers of this movie, apparently named several of the characters after some of his online friends from the game EverQuest.
Holy shit.
Pretty awesome. But this was the trivia piece that just broke my fucking brain. So
more so than an EverQuest thing?
Yeah, just give it a...
When do you think is the next time we'll ever talk about EverQuest on this podcast?
I
hope never, personally.
So, when they were coming up with the ideas of how to continue this franchise, some of the original ideas they had before they landed on space was in the hood, of course, because Leprechaun.
Yeah, naturally.
In the snow, underwater.
What?
I don't know how you do underwater, but...
Submarine.
In the Arctic. Los Angeles fighting gangs.
These all sound incredibly weak.
On safari. I don't know what that means.
Jason versus Ernest in Africa.
And the last one, something involving the NASCAR circuit.
I want to see that one.
I wish that's what got made.
Just Jason in a fucking NASCAR with a bunch of machetes and chainsaws taped to the front, ramming into people.
That would be fucking so
awesome. Who
awesome.
killed Dale?
Just it's just fucking Death Proof, but Jason Voorhees.
Film get made.
I just give David Cronenberg that movie. NASCAR, body horror.
Thought up Jason on Safari. Fire that person from everything.
The only thing I could think is that they were just what movies came out recently? And they're oh, In the Hood, so we got Leprechaun.
Goes to Africa. Leprechaun in the Hood. And Escape from L.A.
Safari and NASCAR just fucking absolutely melted my brain when I read that. Because Los Angeles makes sense, because you're just well, they're coming off Manhattan, so they're just going to go to the other coast, obviously, but I'm also very curious how you do underwater. It's just Aquaman, I guess.
He's killing Atlanteans.
Get Jason Momoa in there, it'd be fucking perfect.
I love that they came up with all of these awful, awful ideas before they're you know what? I understand why everyone goes to space now. Because if they're not going to space, they're going to LA.
You think they just thought of space first, and they were just that's real stupid. We gotta come up with something better.
1,000,000%.
And then
and it's Safari, and they're never mind, fuck you, we're doing space. Space is fine. We'll settle with space.
It took them 4 months to come up with those ideas, and then they finally were just fuck it, space. Somebody watched Aliens for the first time and was oh, we'll just go to space.
Guys, I've got a great idea. What if he's on the submarine he's underwater? Well, the submarine's a spaceship.
All of these would be amazing movies. I would watch all of these all the time.
I would, but I'd still hate them all.
Oh, God. So this movie opens with Jason somewhat captured somehow, kind of chained up, and is just staring at some fucking guard in the year 2010 the very, very distant future of 2010.
Oh my god. What do they think 2010 was going to be like in 2002?
Well, this beginning part takes place in 2010.
Well, yeah, but what kind of crazy, gigantic, empty facilities run by David Cronenberg do they think we're going to be around?
Apparently a lot of them.
Cryotechnology?
Just big empty warehouse.
Technology is not advanced.
It's just a big empty warehouse with Jason like in the middle of the room. So he's staring at some nameless guard who doesn't want him staring at him, so he throws a blanket over his head.
Rude.
And then you're introduced to Rowan, who is essentially the main character of this movie. Kind of like the quote-unquote final girl.
Spoilers.
Yeah, which, I mean, fuck, she's not the only one that lives, but entirely too many people in this movie live. You're introduced to her. She works at whatever this facility is, and I guess they're essentially just keeping Jason locked up just because he's a mass murderer. And David Cronenberg shows up. He is, I guess, somewhat her boss, or like her boss's boss, and he is going to take Jason for study because they want to figure out how he can regenerate himself, and delivers the absolute fucking best line when she's like, we're gonna freeze him, and he's like, I don't want him frozen, I want him soft.
I want him soft.
So gross.
Cronenberg's delivery is so Cronenberg, too.
It's so like...
It makes you squirm.
It's almost like just off the cuff, but also like resentful. Where
Just
he's just
like,
I want him soft.
So like, there's some weird glee behind it. I want him soft.
I bet he fucking...
Ooh.
I bet he loved doing this. Showing up for like...
I bet he made them do like a dozen takes just so he could get soft right.
I do like, though, that they're also taking him to the Scranton facility. So, there's a movie in there as well where Jason just comes across like a fucking office park, and
I could live with a Jason office crossover.
that'd be pretty fucking... Dwight would be like the only one to live. When they get into the room with Jason, they take the blanket off his face, and he is now replaced with the dead soldier, and Jason is loose and fucks up all of the soldiers with him. I wrote down that Kane Hodder rules. He is pretty much the only Jason for me.
Extremely soft.
It's it's also, like, of note, one of the things I read is that every time you see a close-up of Jason's face, like, he never blinks. And there are some kind of long shots of him, which is crazy. Like, I read it before I watched it again.
Intense.
And, like, Kane Hodder, for, like, a good, like, minute of some of these scenes, just does not blink.
Kane Hodder is a man that has kill tattooed inside of his lip, so I could definitely believe that.
He lives that life, that's for sure.
He's probably never blunk before.
I don't know why, but, like, Blunk just made me think of Futurama. And, like,
That's where I got it from.
I was just like, I should watch Futurama when we get done with this. So Jason kills fucking everybody, including David Cronenberg. Rowan takes off, essentially traps Jason inside like a cryogenic chamber, and as she's turning it on to freeze him, he stabs through the door with his machete and stabs her in the stomach, which also opens up all of the stuff that's freezing him, comes into like the room she's in and freezes her as well. And then you cut to the future of 2445, where hockey has been outlawed. That line made me laugh so hard.
It got outlawed like not long from now, right? Like 2024. Yeah. God. R.I.P. hockey fans. I'm sorry.
So you guys got 5 years of hockey to take in.
Yeah, I hope your team wins. whoever you are out there listening.
You get basically all the rest of the characters of this movie showing up in the future, opening this cryo chamber room or whatever, and it's entirely too many fucking characters to even try and go through. And
Mortal Kombat all over again.
They all have 1,000,000% the craziest names imaginable. Like Janessa and fucking, I don't know, the dude who has like the android has the fucking craziest name. It's like Son or some shit like that. It's fucking crazy.
Names in the future dumb.
As is all of the clothing in the future.
Yes.
It like in 24-45 everybody's gonna dress like they're wearing clothes from Forever 21 still, but you're gonna be missing the entire front of your clothes.
Front's over.
As they open this cryo chamber with Jason in it, they find Rowan's body, who is perfectly like preserved, and
except for the horrible machete wound.
they realize that they can take them back to the ship and at least bring her back. Jason is too far gone. As they're kind of like figuring all this stuff out, this one of the younger characters in this movie, Azrael, bumps into
the stoner.
Yeah, the stoner with the dreadlocks bumps into Jason, knocking him over. As Jason falls, holding his machete, cuts off Azrael's arm.
And it has the most awesome, like, severed arm effect. Like, fake meat inside of the dude's arm.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And in the future, they have, like, weird little, like, pads you could just throw on an open wound that will cover it up perfectly.
I want that.
Yeah, and I don't know why scientists aren't working on this shit.
Yeah. give me the goddamn wound ziplock, please.
So they take Jason and Rowan, and they're like transferring them back to their ship, the Grendel. And this is when I noted that every dude in this movie is a fucking creep. Like,
yep.
I don't understand why they weren't just like, they got one android on here. Every dude in this movie is just fucking like constantly horny, trying to bang every woman in this movie. Like, just build them some fucking androids. They like just give them sex robots. The one dude has one. Why don't the rest of them? As they're rushing all these bodies to the lab, you're kind of getting more just dumb exposition about this ship and how it's pretty much all students, a professor, and then like
a sex bot.
Yeah, a sex robot and like military people.
Sex robot.
The sex robot is the worst acted android I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Like, even if she was trying to play like a robot would be, it's still very bad.
Like, the scene towards the end when it's just her head and she's trying to, like, build the hologram, and all she's doing is just moving her eyes back and forth and shit, and I was like, come on.
It's even bad eye acting.
Like, at least watch Lance Henriksen. It's not that hard. You're ripping off aliens. I mean, come on.
It's gotta lay there drowning in goo.
Even, like, Winona Ryder was slightly better than this.
Just look kind of pained.
Yeah. You get basically the kind of introduction on how they can bring people back to life, which is with nanotechnology, and they're basically had like these like nano
like
robots.
Spiders.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, they look like spiders.
Little tiny spiders.
These little robots that can like rebuild, I guess, human DNA. They bring Rowan back to life. They pretty much deem that Jason is far too gone to even be revived. Some couple, for some reason, feels the need to start making out pretty much on Jason's body.
They can't pay attention to what's going on because they're too horny.
Yeah. The future is just nothing but
The horniest
nonstop.
place in the world. 2445 is just everyone is got a raging erection, and they're all just making out with each other, and all topless.
Yeah, and they all have to just like constantly go back to their rooms for quickies, and then it's the horniest timeline, 2445. Professor Lowe, who is trying to get money for whatever they're doing on this ship because they're broke, recognizes Jason's name and realizes that, like, the right collector, he could make a fortune off him, and has, like, a call with his financial backer. They talk about how Jason is a mass murderer who killed over 200 people, which I then looked up online and is incorrect. Well,
Unbelievable.
is incorrect in as much as the movies stand. Like, it was, I think, 146 in the movies. Which would...
I demand to see these 60 lost kills.
I was going to say, that would just mean in, like, 30 years, he only killed 60 more people. Something like
That
that.
doesn't add up.
Yeah.
That doesn't add up at all.
So, your math is flawed, Jason X. The only flaw in this movie.
Nathan's Math Corner.
Yes. There's a pretty awesome / gross scene of Adrienne cutting off Jason's mask. Which, like...
What? Have you ever liked any of the faces that are underneath Jason's masks?
I mean...
At least
yes.
in the latter ones where he's more zombie than human.
No,
Like 3 and 4 are fine, but all of the zombie ones are awful except for 7.
the one...
7's look cool.
The one with, Corey... What the hell's his last name?
Feldman?
Yeah, Corey Feldman, like, where it's just, like, it looks like it's just a mask as opposed to just, like, makeup and shit. Like, that one I
Yeah.
like, but it's also extremely goofy. I think all the rest of them, just like, yeah, whatever.
I like 7 where he's missing the like chunk of meat around his eye and that eye's totally on. But then like in 8 he just kind of looks like a mushed up turd that's been soaking in the toilet for like 3 weeks.
I almost feel like it would have been better if they had just never shown his face. Kind of like how they did with, like, Halloween.
Yeah.
So she's cutting off this mask, and it's got, like, a pretty good, like, effect of her cutting into, like, skin and stuff, at least especially for, like, this time period when, like, a lot of Hollywood horror movies were just real terrible and not very good with effects. As she's doing this, everybody else kind of goes off to fuck.
Literally. That's literally what happens.
Professor Lowe and one of the students are, like, there's a scene of them.
This scene's so good.
It's awesome.
I haven't even mentioned yet.
It's, it's her, like, Professor Lowe and this student, like, fucking, but they're not really fucking in as much as he's wearing, like a woman's teddy, and she's, like, pinching his nipple.
Yeah, she's got, like, big clamps just, like, clamping on his nipples, twisting them.
The best part, though, is that when he comes, he just yells,
Oh my
"You
God.
pass!"
She's like, say it. And he's like, you pass!
So good. You also have Stoney and Kinza, the couple that were basically making out on Jason's body, go back to their room to fuck.
So they're obviously going to die immediately. You don't just get horny on Jason and not die.
All of this fucking starts reviving Jason as he's thawing out. You also get a quick scene of KM14, the android, and her dude, where her fucking metal nipple falls off. Which is another awesome scene. Like,
Full nipple. That's
Ideally-
a hell of a phrase.
ideally, you would think the nipples would also be the same kind of like skin, like texture of the rest of her body, but no, it hits the ground and just sounds like a fucking quarter hit the ground.
So he's obviously like banging this robot lady, right?
Yes.
But she clearly has to have a metal exoskeleton if she's got like some magnetic metal nipple that just goes on there. Like, that can't be fun or comfortable, right?
Not at all. I just assume it's just like
I'm sorry for getting into sex plot specifics, people, but I need to know.
I'm pretty sure it's just like a Terminator style robot under there. So like I can't imagine having sex with this robot would be any good.
No way it's pleasurable.
So
Broken wieners.
Oh god, I just want to name this podcast Broken Wieners.
Yet another podcast pivot.
Yeah. So as Jason is like reviving him, like, you know, coming back, Adrian's working in the lab. She turns around and his body is gone. He grabs her, pushes her head into a bunch of liquid nitrogen, and freezes her head, and then just smashes it into the wall. Which
It's a super simple kill, but it works great and it looks really cool.
it's also the most like unnecessary, I guess, where it's like she blatantly was not like being terrible to him. Like,
Yeah,
it's almost
she took
like
his mask off. That's a sin.
it's like is it the first Rob Zombie Halloween where like when he kills Danny Trejo's character and you're like, that dude was being so fucking nice to you, like, come on. I guess Mythbusters did an episode about this to like see,
Oh, fuck.
I guess they just kind of came to like, I forget like what the conclusion was specifically, but that it was like it wouldn't really work, at least not the way it's portrayed in the movie.
I'm gonna mythbust Mythbusters.
Do it yourself.
Gonna have to get some liquid nitrogen and a head.
Jason takes some kind of weird fucking machete saw that's apparently used for cutting up bodies in this future, and immediately just like beelines to fucking Kinsa and Stoney's room and fucking like just
Got a horny sensor
yeah,
and all the pheromones.
just stabs the fuck out of Stoney and then leaves Kinsa for some reason.
He just drags him off, right? Like, you don't see him actually die. You just see him get dragged around the corner, and it's like, oh shit.
I don't think do they ever like show his body after that?
Nope.
I don't think they do.
He could still be alive, folks. Jason.
Yeah, that was Jason 11. Jason XI. You also get a scene of Professor Lowe, kind of filling in Rowan on the future and how like Earth 1 is inhabitable and that Earth 2 has been, I don't know, is somehow a thing. And like his plans for, you know, she's like, Jason is unstoppable, like we gotta like just shoot him out into space basically. And he's like, no, I'm gonna make money off him.
At least he's honest.
Yeah, he's pretty honest on
He's not trying to hide his what he really wants like an alien's. He's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna monetize the shit out of this.
Yeah, he's not being Paul Reiser.
Yeah.
You were then introduced to Sergeant Brodsky, and who is like the head of the military portion of this ship, who go out looking for Jason. You get a scene of Dallas and Azrael fighting weird monsters and like an X-Men, like the room the X-Men fight people in. Like these weird hologram monsters that look goofy as shit. It's pretty sweet, but it also Jason stumbles in there and fucking like cuts one of them in half.
And so it's not revealed until after he like lops the dude in half that it's VR. So he chops the dude like down through the neck, and it's an awful looking effect. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh my god, why would they go with that? And then the dude's like, oh, this is horseshit. Game over. Like, stop the simulation. And it's like, oh, okay. That was just a fake guy. That's why it looked that bad. But not really, because it still looks that bad whenever he's actually killing people after that.
All of the VR in this movie is so good. I just wish they had more scenes, especially towards the end when it's like the hologram of like
Yes.
Crystal Lake. That should have been like the entire third act.
Yeah, just all at VR Crystal Lake with more hologram monsters that look bad.
Dallas and Azrael like turn off whatever this simulation is and are like complaining about how the computer is just doing like whatever on its own. As they take off their like headsets or whatever, they realize that Jason's in the room. Jason bashes Dallas's head against a wall and kills him after breaking Azrael's back.
Do you ever wonder why they're just playing this game like sitting on the ground? Like, just on a cement floor, like, leaned against a wall? Like, they don't have any, like, cozy chairs or anything for this. They're just...
Well, it also doesn't make sense because you would assume that, like, like, they would be walking around doing this. Like, those Sims wouldn't have been, like, it would have just actually been them.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
They're just, like, astral projecting their bodies.
Yeah, it's weird. Because you would think if that was the case, they wouldn't actually it wouldn't even be in, like, that room. And it wouldn't even need, like, the holograms because they got masks on. So it would be, like, regular VR.
Get your shit together, 2445.
Yeah, no shit. We got this shit now. Like, why you...
Yeah. The one thing that we actually do have right. VR. We've got it even better than the fucking movie does.
Yeah. So you're kind of introduced real quick to the rest of these soldiers that really are only there to be more bodies for Jason to kill. Except that one of them has a BFG gun from Doom. Which is awesome.
Makes me laugh every time.
Yeah. I can only assume that was thrown in by, like, the director as well. Because I'm assuming if he's playing, like, EverQuest and naming most of the characters after that, he's probably familiar with Doom. You get, like, a 10-minute scene of just all of the soldiers just getting fucking wrecked by Jason.
My favorite of which
awesome.
is he, like, pushes a person off of a, like, bridge, and they fall onto a giant corkscrew that is sticking up out of the ground for literally no reason.
Yeah,
and the body just hits it and just spins down.
And then
I have no idea what purpose that serves on this ship.
You get the awesome line of they, like, two of the soldiers stumble across this guy and they're like, "Sir, we found Condor." And Brodsky says, "What's his condition?" And he just says, "He's screwed." Which means, like, what does that mean to Brodsky? Like he,
it's not a very professionally run outfit here on the Grindel.
Oh, it's so good. There's some pretty choice lines in this movie. Jason cuts one of them in half, which is also pretty awesome. He grabs, like, he, like, busts through a wall and grabs Brodsky as he's, like, kind of stalking Jason, where you get the awesome line. He stabs Brodsky through the wall and, like, through his side or something. He goes, "It's going to take more than a poke in the ribs to put down this old dog." Jason stabs him again and he goes, "Yep, that ought to do it."
Should do it.
So good.
I'm just glad he's, like, realistic about it. He's like, "Oh, yep, no, that's it. I'm done."
I don't know why, but I love, like, a real goofy fucking, like, death lines like that where it just kind of breaks the fourth wall. Like, I love that shit so much. I laugh so hard. After Jason essentially takes out their entire military force, Lowe orders, I think his name's Crutch, the guy who's driving the ship, to dock on the Solaris, which is just like another, I guess, like community or whatever, some ship full of people. As that's happening, the Jason, fuck, is this when he like breaks into the room and steals his machete? Yeah, I think it is. So
Yeah.
because like I think this is the point where like something happens where he gets into the room and like everybody else is like fled and he's in there with Professor Lowe, and he's just like standing there staring down Jason, and Professor Lowe's just like, oh, you like, do you know how much money you're worth? Like, if you don't kill me, like, I'll split the money with you, blah, blah, blah. And Jason reaches over and grabs his machete off the table. And Professor Lowe turns around and he's just like, oh, guys, it's cool. He just wanted his machete back. And Professor Lowe...
Everyone's in a different room just like, Jesus Christ, he's so dead.
So Professor Lowe gets fucking, like, hacked up by Jason. And as this happens, the ship, like, whatever, like, auto-docking system they have is damaged or some shit, and the ship just smashes through the Solaris. Which, like...
Murdering everyone on board.
Yeah, it makes the Solaris explode. But it also, you would seem like all of that damage would have made the Grendel also explode.
Nah, that's a tough ship.
Instead, it just, like, damages their pontoon, which I don't understand what that even is on a ship.
How do you have a pontoon in space?
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. Yeah, so the ship's crashed, and he's decapitated Lowe, takes his machete back. The rest of the survivors run towards the escape shuttle, and, like, you get a scene that infuriated me, like it does in almost every movie, of the dude and his robot, KM-14, making out as they're, like...
This could be the end!
Discussing, like, what percent chance they have of surviving.
He puts her robot nipple on her forehead.
I just like that she's like, like 15% survival, and he's just like, want to make it 100, and then they just start making out.
start fucking their survival chances up.
So, I guess that would explain why everybody in the future's horny, is they're just like, if we just keep fucking, we'll never die.
Yeah, we'll make it.
As they're like kind of running around, trying to get to the escape shuttle, Rowan stumbles across Sergeant Brodsky, who is still alive, and she can't pick him up. He's too heavy, and she runs for help. When she gets back, Brodsky is gone. Jason has now made it to the, like, I guess not the escape pod, but like whatever, like whoever's steering the ship or Crutch at, and electrocutes him by just smashing his face into some sort of like electrical like wall, which is like a real fucking cheesy ass death. As this happens, and like Rowan, Brodsky, and I think Waylander is the other guy that's there.
You're doing great with names.
Well, I
didn't catch anyone's name but Janessa and Jason.
I think Janessa. No, I don't remember.
Janessa's the redhead that gets sucked out of the hole in the ship.
I started writing names down like halfway through the movie, and then I was like, because like I just at the beginning I was like, there's too many people, and then once it got down to about like 5 survivors, I started like remembering them.
I was just giving them like terrible nicknames. Like there was Biker Pilot and then Creepy Pilot. And...
Yeah, Biker Pilot got chopped to fucking shit in that room. Like, you don't even see it. You just get like the remains when like Clutch makes it back up there, or Crutch, or whatever his fucking name was.
Clorch.
Yeah.
The sweet name.
As like Kinza hears Crutch being killed, she panics and she's the only one in the escape shuttle, and she attempts to leave but doesn't detach the fuel line and immediately crashes back into the ship and dies.
That's so good.
It's awesome. Which, like, I guess also damages the ship even more.
Hits that other pontoon.
They're all standing outside of, like, the door from the shuttle as Jason comes across them, and as he starts to, like, walk them to attack them, the upgraded KM-14 shows up, but her fucking dude says that he uploaded her. Which, like,
God damn it.
how do you even get that wrong?
The new sex move in 2445.
He's like, I came in her, she's stronger now. She starts fighting Jason and essentially just cartwheel kicks him in the face a bunch of times.
Which is fantastic.
It's pretty sweet. She is, again, the worst acted android in movies. She ends up shooting him a bunch of times, blowing off
A shitload.
Yeah.
Like, comically, intentionally over the top.
She blows off his right arm and left leg.
This is maybe the best part of the movie because you think he's down, and then he gets up and it plays that ominous, like, cue whenever he gets up. And then she just, like, blows off a leg and he goes down. And then he gets back up and it plays the cue again. Then she blows off an arm. It does it for, like, 4 minutes.
It's at least, like, 3 times, because it's, like, his right arm, his left leg, and then just a massive hole in his chest.
Chunk in his head. Yeah, chest and head.
She literally blows off, like, his head. There's, like, maybe
like his jaws left.
Yeah, it's, like, if, like, percentage-wise, like, maybe 9% of his head is still there. It's crazy.
It's awesome. But she does all this onto the nano spider table.
Yeah, he lands on the wrecked, like, medical bay, and as they're, like, sending out a distress call and trying to get help, Jason is slowly being rebuilt. Brodsky is also being, like, healed up, and they get a reply that's basically like, we could come to help, but one of the dudes, I think Waylander, is just kind of like, we only have 30 minutes before the ship's gonna explode, and we don't want to take you with you, so, like, whatever. They ended up coming to the plan that, like, keep heading towards them. Hopefully they'll be there, like, not exploded by the time the ship gets there.
Or the ship explodes.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck else are you gonna do, right? Like, might as well try it.
Their plan is to blow up more of the ship, but blowing off, like, the part that's damaged, I guess. Which seemed like a terrible idea to me. I feels like blowing up more of the ship would probably not help.
Probably alright.
Jason, as all the nanobites are working on him, turns him into Uber Jason, which is basically like a half metal version of Jason.
Now, I have qualms because no one else who got nano-spidered has sweet metallic, like, exoskeletons.
Yeah.
Why does Jason get a sweet metal head and a metal arm and a metal leg?
It's like
everyone else is just soft.
It is the most 2000 mask imaginable.
Oh, it's so. And he has those huge fucking bright red and yellow eyes.
Yeah. I also was like, I want to say I was disappointed that Bodies was not in this, like, the movie.
Yes, like, because it was utilized to perfection in the trailer.
This would have been the perfect time to just, like, have Bodies start playing as he walks out and fights KM again.
This movie is probably entirely the reason I'm a metalhead, because it got me into Drowning Pool and led me down this stupid, awful path I've been on.
All of the soundtracks from, like, this time period were pretty fucking awesome, because it was all, like, real terrible, like, new metal that I feel like probably got a lot of people into, like, metal in general, because you had, like, Bride of Chucky had, like, Static X and Typo Negative and Cold Chamber and I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah. Good old Cold Chamber. This movie could have used
Shout out to Freddy vs. Jason for having Typo on the soundtrack somehow.
all of them did. Like,
So weird.
Bride of Chucky did. I Know What You Did Last Summer did. Freddy vs. Jason did. Like, because they were all also released by Roadrunner Records, probably. So,
Bride and Freddy vs. Jason are directed by the same guy.
yeah,
So he's probably so fan.
he's secretly goth. Katie was texting me about watching Freddy vs. Jason right before we recorded, and I was just like, that movie sucks so bad.
It's the best.
It's
I
like,
watched it so many times when I bought it on DVD after it came out. Like, once or twice a day, every day for like 3 weeks.
I saw it the day it came out in theaters. I went and saw it like 11 a.m. Like, I got off work at like 6 a.m. and went and saw it. And the only, I had to make a deal with my girlfriend at the time that we went to see that and we would go see a movie she chose next. And it was some, Kate Hudson movie that, I ended up sleeping through. It was something, I know it wasn't, Made in Manhattan is a Jennifer Lopez movie, but it was something along those lines that came out around then. And I was just like, wow, this was not a good day.
I had never been more excited to be 17 than whenever Freddy vs. Jason came out.
It's awesome, but I think I would like it a lot more if Kelly Rowland wasn't in it, because she sucks in it. It's just I feel like they just there's so much potential there, just like Alien vs. Predator, that I just feel was just wasted on the early 2000s.
Yep.
So back to Jason X, which is much better than both of those movies. They're working on setting all these explosives to blow up whatever part of the ship as Uber Jason shows up and just immediately punches fucking KM-14's head off.
So I never realized how insanely bad the effect is of him knocking her head off. I had never paid attention to it until last night, and Jesus Christ.
It's so awesome because it's just the punch and then a quick cut to blatantly a mannequin head.
And they just jam in some awful 2D looking wires that are clearly CG'd over her neck.
It's so good.
It's very brief. It's only half a second, but it jumps out how awful it is.
Yeah. And then, it's just, as the head hits the ground and rolls around, it's just so blatantly, a mannequin head with a wig on it. It's pretty great.
Gotta cut costs wherever you can.
Yeah, I mean, they'd probably spend a fuck ton of money on David Cronenberg.
That Crystal Lake fucking, set piece.
That set piece actually does look pretty good.
That's where all the money went.
Because there's, you see this, the lake, but then there's just, a big piece of fucking, future, a beam or something coming out of it. I think they did an actually pretty good job on making that, a mix of both. Jason's basically attacking the group again. Waylander sacrifices himself by, locking them out of this part of the room and blows himself up with Jason inside it.
There's another qualm. I have many qualms.
How dare you? This movie is perfect.
Right after he knocks KM's head off, he rears back with the machete like he's gonna swing it, and Rowan just holds up her arm and totally blocks him like it's nothing. And it's just what? He just knocked a robot's head off. Your puny, weak, fleshy body is going to be destroyed if you try that.
Must have missed that part. I don't remember that at all. But
she just holds up her arm and blocks it, and then he grabs her by the throat and throws her. And she's like, "What? He just demolished someone's head. Why are you even attempting that?"
Completely decimated a fucking robot exoskeleton, and
yeah.
So in the process of this part of the ship being blown up, Jason is blown into whatever part of the ship the rest of the group is in. To what?
That's unfortunate.
This scene fucking rules so much. He punches a hole into the wall, breaching like the hull of the ship, causing like a vacuum, which sucks Janessa out of it. But right before it does, she says, "This sucks on so many levels," which is another great line.
So good.
You don't actually like. Unfortunately, like I wish they would have done like. I guess is the alien resurrection when they suck the alien out of the ship.
Yes, and they show it like bit by bit, like it's meat coming through the little hole. And that out of context, that's inappropriate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, this one all you get is just like you see her go towards the hole, and then it's just like the after effect. It would have been even better because it's like a grate. It's not even the hole. She hit like a grate and got sucked through it. After Janessa gets like sucked through this hole, the Tiamat, the ship that's there to save them, starts to attach to the ship, but there's some sort of power failure in the docking door. Brodsky,
can't catch a break.
Yeah, the ship's just fucked up. Brodsky has to put on like space gear and go out and fix it.
Future spacesuits are super tight and color coded, and I'm all about it.
I will say, wasn't it like bright
Bright
red?
red.
As this is going on, Jason is slowly trying like to make his way back to wherever the rest of the group is at. They decide to distract him that they are going to turn on a simulation hologram of Crystal Lake with two teenage girls that love beer, pot, and premarital sex. Immediately,
Those are things they say that. You
Yes,
don't just assume that. They out loud for you.
They flat out say, "Do you want to drink some beer or smoke some pot? We love premarital sex," and then get nude and get into sleeping bags. And you cut back to like KM14's head and like her dude like working on the simulation, and when you cut back, it is just Jason beating one of the girls in the sleeping bag into the other one. So fucking awesome. I love it so much. It is a perfect scene.
It's the fact that it cuts away and then it cuts back and he's just mid swing.
And it's like the goofiest looking shit, and it's not like you don't hear like the girls aren't making any sound. It's just like the sound of the sleeping bags hitting each other, and he's just doing it over and over and over again. This is like that Twitter account for One Perfect Shot should just have this as a GIF.
This scene is the whole reason this movie was made. Someone thought up the scene and was like, "We've got to build a space film around it, or maybe a safari film." I don't know.
I mean, this would have worked Safari as well. Sleeping bag.
Sleeping. That's true.
In like a fucking one of those like mosquito tents instead. This scene is fucking perfect. I love it so much. As Brodsky fixes the door, Jason is officially not distracted and gets like sees Rowan through this hologram and starts coming towards them. And as he starts heading towards them, Brodsky shows back up inside and distracts Jason by like fighting him. Rowan, KM, and her dude make it onto the escape ship, and as they do, like Brodsky, like basically they have to leave. Brodsky explodes the ship with him and Jason on it, sending Jason hurtling towards the escape pod. And as that's happening, Brodsky, with some kind of weird jetpack, flies at Jason and grabs him. In the craziest shit in this movie. And they both hurl towards Earth 2, incinerating them both to where you cut down to Earth 2 and see two teenagers on like a campground area that see a shooting star.
Naturally.
They see like Jason and Brodsky as a shooting star and kiss under it. and then realized whatever it was landed in the lake near them, and it was Jason's mask landing in the lake, and they go to explore
See it float down.
Yep.
Perfect setup for a sequel that was never realized. Unbelievable.
I demand they make one for this right now.
I want it.
It would be good. You could
Couldn't be bad.
You could you could reboot this franchise while also making it a sequel to this because it's on a separate Earth now.
Yeah. And Uber Jason's been burned up, so he can just come back as, normal Jason.
Yeah. He's got all he needs is the mask. Or you could just do, what is it, in 6 or whatever, when the dude just, some other dude is Jason for, the entire movie.
Yeah, in 5, where it's just a random dude in it.
Oh, these movies are fucking crazy.
I don't know why everyone hates 5.
I like
rules.
all of them. I think
underrated.
Those and, all of the Friday the 13th and all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, I enjoy all of them. They're all goofy as shit, and they're all good.
Jason Takes Manhattan sucks ass.
Oh, I love it. Well, I love it when he gets to
Manhattan. It's
Manhattan.
good when he gets to Toronto.
Yeah. The scene of him fighting the boxer is the fucking best.
Come on, give me your best shot. And pop!
Just fucking punches that dude's head off, too.
Do a dumpster.
Oh, it's so good. I did grab 3 news items. One is just that we had talked about, Fox had been teasing something with the Alien franchise.
No, I thought we were going to be talking about The Masked Singer.
The what? What is the Masked Singer?
It's some new dumb show that they're doing where it's, supposed to be a famous singer, but they're dressed up like a furry on stage for some reason, and people have to try and guess what singer it is. It was a bad joke. I'm sorry, everyone. Now,
as somebody that hasn't had actual cable in years, I have no idea what that is. Well, they had been tweeting out and posting Instagram posts that were teasing something with Amanda Ripley, and everybody was like, "Oh, movie or TV show?" No, it's a fucking mobile game.
Nope. Goddamn phone game.
So fuck that. I guess they're still saying there's something else in the works, but it isn't going to be. They said for a fact it's not a sequel to Alien Isolation, and that it's
going to be a game for the Engage.
Yeah. It's also not going to be any sort of Amanda Ripley TV show or movie, but there is, I believe, still something happening with the TV show. So who knows? Elvira has also teased that she might be bringing a sequel to Mistress of the Dark.
Ooh.
To maybe Netflix. I guess she's written a treatment for it, and she did an Instagram Q&A, and somebody was like, "Oh, blah blah blah, bring something to Netflix," and she was like, "It's in the works." So
Shudder should get on it.
I mean, Shudder should 100% get in on it, but I feel like everybody probably goes to Netflix first.
Yeah, because Netflix will literally make whatever fucking trash you throw at them.
Pretty much. But speaking of Shudder, who should be sponsoring us by now? Did you see the trailer for Horror Noir?
I haven't, but it is on my radar.
It looks fucking awesome. So Shudder has a original documentary coming out called Horror Noir, A History of Black Horror. That's based on a book by Dr. Robin R. Means Coleman that I think was produced by Jordan Peele.
I believe so.
Yeah, he has something to do with it other than I think just being in it, but it's basically going to just explore African American roles in horror, starting out from days when they were pretty much just set up as super racist stereotype zombies to
yeah,
everything up to what Jordan Peele is currently doing. And it looks really fucking good. I'm pretty excited. That's gonna hit Shudder on February 7th. So that's more reason to just get Shudder.
It's seriously the best $5 you could spend a month.
Less than that. Even if you if you do the by month, I think it's $4, and if you do just the one payment per year, it's ends up being 3 something. which is just like unbelievably cheap for all of the shit that's on there.
Yes, like a shitload of original programming.
And like I think they get pretty much all of AMC's like kind of
whatever horror movies are on AMC or licensed out by AMC.
Yeah, because they
theoretically should be on there since it's owned by AMC.
They got that the documentary TV series that James Cameron produced.
Yeah,
that was like all about like sci-fi. That was really good. Yeah, Shudder, give us money, and everybody should be 100% signing up for Shudder because it's great. So next week we are going to watch Ice Sharks, which I don't know if you've seen.
Maybe
it looks...
Honestly, it's hard for me to keep track of all of the snow-themed shark movies I've seen. I think I might have seen Avalanche Sharks, and that's what I'm thinking of.
We're gonna have.
Unless I'm thinking of Ice Spiders.
Ice Spiders.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think Ice Spiders is a thing. There's no way it's not.
Oh, it is. Sure.
We're gonna have a guest next week. It'll be Michelle Ann Olsen from Are You Afraid of the Bark podcast. And basically, I sent her a list of shark movies and was just like, whatever is available to you in Canada, just let us know. We'll do that one. And this was the only one on the list that was available to her to watch in Canada.
Very, very disappointed. House Shark was not.
Did you watch the
there.
trailer for that?
I did not.
That and Shark Exorcist look absolutely fucking stupid.
Shark Exorcist has been on my radar for ages, and I was going to say I need an excuse to watch it. I don't. I'll watch it tonight because I'm garbage.
We're going to end up covering it at some point. That's been on my list, but because it
I
looks fucking...
used to watch it the second time.
Yeah, I mean, either way. But yeah, Ice Sharks, at least, I always say where their like stuff is streaming, and I just never reference that, I guess. Like, this is always the US. I don't know what's streaming anywhere else. But at least in the US, it is streaming on Hulu and Amazon Prime, so...
Hulu?
Hulu's got at least two options.
Prime is the home of the awful shark film.
Yeah, it was one of two shark movies on Hulu. The other one was Five-Headed Shark Attack.
Naturally.
Yeah.
I stopped at Four-Headed Shark Attack, so I'm curious to see where the franchise has gone.
You got two more, because there's up to 6 at least.
Fuck off. How does this shark keep getting heads?
I don't know what Prime has going on, but they have every fucking shark movie ever made, pretty much. It's crazy.
Yes.
Like, just looking up the term shark, you can just fucking watch shit for the next 3 months every day.
If tonight you're looking for a quality shark film, Hammerhead Shark Frenzy is on there.
Or Ghost Shark 2 Urban Jaws.
Also incredible.
I watched the first, 15 minutes of it, and I had to stop, because I was like, I want to watch this for the podcast at some point. I gotta wait.
I watched it on my own one night. I was sick, and I was like, I'm gonna hit the NyQuil hard, and I'm gonna watch Ghost Shark 2 Urban Jaws. Let's rage.
I have not seen the first one, so I didn't know what was going on, but there was, a shark that came out of a puddle in the fucking middle of someone's apartment, and I was like, I'm in. I got...
So you get to the scene of the guy jerking off. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, genius.
That these fans.
We just need to start a separate podcast that's just shark movies.
Hope you shark fur.
So yeah, Ice Shark will be next week. You can follow us on Twitter at I Hope You Suffer, on Facebook at I Hope You Suffer Pod, Instagram at I Hope You Suffer Podcast, email I Hope You Suffer Podcast at gmail.com. You can leave us reviews and shit would be cool on iTunes. We have 5-star ratings so far. I should also say, as of us recording this, we had 666 downloads.
So we're quitting right now.
Down
for this. Only stream it on Spotify, please.
We're deleting everything else.
That warning doesn't help because they'll have already downloaded it by the time they get to it. Alright, well, fuck.
I'm just deleting everything involving the podcast.
It's over. Go home.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Nah.
All right.
That's it.
I hope you suffer, but why?
You pass!